everyone is talking about this, and rarely, in my neck of the woods, Hassan is actually the good guy in all of this. Or at least I should say, Hassan is going to be the protagonist POV character through which we'll be experiencing this whole debacle. You see, the world of podcasts is full of morons and idiots who all make a living off of talking way too much about things that the vast majority of them understand very little of anything about. It's an iconic experience to watch a podcast regularly, to think the people on said podcast have at least a modicum of understanding of the topics they discuss, and, maybe they are a trustworthy source of information or advice. But then they talk about something that you are a subject matter expert on and are completely off base, thus throwing complete doubt on everything else they've ever said, even on their very integrity, right? I'm sure this has happened with many podcasters for many of you. It's an iconic experience, and the reason this happens is because the podcasting scene is dominated by people who are good at marketing, who are entertaining and funny, but not necessarily smart or informed. And so, when you have uninformed, not necessarily smart people with large platforms getting offers to host very prominent people who might have certain skeletons in their closet, you would hope that these podcasters would have the wherewithal to make the right choice and maybe not platform, say, a war criminal, for example. But we are talking about dude bro idiots here. Dude bro idiots who, mind you, it seems like Gen Z men watch religiously. In this case, it is a podcast called Nelk Boys. I think at some point I did watch their stuff. I think they do some kind of, I think they do content where they, drop shit off buildings or something. Maybe I'm thinking of a different channel. But I think they've got a brand in producing actually good content on YouTube. But they also have a podcast. They're not particularly smart, they're not particularly informed, but they got the opportunity recently to interview the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. Or I should say Benjamin Netanyahu, to use his full name. Who, might I remind you, is not only the one who is orchestrating the attacks on Gaza, is arguably not solely, but mainly responsible for the thousands of Palestinians killed by the IDF and other military actions taken by Israel, but on top of that, is literally wanted by the International Criminal Court to be tried at The Hague for war crimes he's committed against the Palestinian people. Netanyahu is an unabashed, unapologetic monster. Music is loud. I apologize, guys. That's the loud part of the song, so it always gets us. He's an unapologetic monster, okay? He's horrible, awful, terrible. And these Nelk Boys decided to bring him on their podcast to just essentially explain the entire conflict from only the Israeli POV, or not even the Israeli POV, the authoritarian Israeli nationalist POV. And so they had no ability, they were completely unequipped to push back on anything, and because of this, they essentially just put out a pro-Netanyahu platform podcast, like an episode of a podcast where they allowed Netanyahu to just spew pro-IDF, pro-Israeli state propaganda. Quite disgusting stuff, if I do say so myself, and I think most of the internet agreed because everybody jumped on their dicks about it, including Hassan Piker. Now, I've got a lot of disagreements with Hassan. Even on this issue, I've got disagreements with Hassan, but him coming in and going after them, having the platform to do so, he's basically arguing everything that we would all argue ourselves. So I can't really nitpick or look a gift horse in the mouth. So like I said before, Hassan Piker is our POV protagonist character in this discussion, where he went on and I guess you could say debated the Nelk Boys, or the hosts of the Nelk Boys show, about how irresponsible their platforming was. Now, I haven't watched this myself yet. I've seen a couple clips, though, to be fair. So let's hop into this and see what all the hubbub is about.
All right, so you guys interviewed the Adolf Hitler incarnate, Benjamin Netanyahu, and now everybody's yelling at you guys, I assume, right? Is that what's going on?
Yes, we're getting definitely some yells.
Yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, who the set that up? Was it Miriam Adelson?
Well, we actually toured the White House right before, and he was in DC. So
Yeah, but someone must have. Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't like, I love the Nelk Boys. I'm a big consumer of Happy Dad, and then was like, let's do this.
Well, we've had Trump on a few times. Some of the communications team at the White House hit us up, connected us with their communications team, and presented us the opportunity to do it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, let's do it. Sounds great.
I mean, yeah, I can say it again. I've said it.
What I think is important to keep in mind here is these guys are not like conservatives necessarily. These guys did back Trump, but they are completely bought into the culture war exclusively. And the culture war does mostly revolve around nonsense like ideas that have really no falsifiable way of proving them wrong or right. A lot of things to do with like, is it good to do DEI? You can have debates about that all day, but like, it's really a matter of opinion at the end of the day. For a lot of people, it's hard to debate an objective answer to that. And so these guys, they rarely focus on actual policy, real issues. They're very meme-oriented. They're very culture war-oriented. And because it was the hip, cool thing, especially in the podcast world, to support Trump during the election, they backed Trump. But they don't do this stuff because they have a hardcore right-wing lean, from what I can tell. They're just the average normie that we are always worried about being susceptible to right-wing propagandizing.
A few times, but I can't speak to podcasting as a whole. And other podcasters will have people on with just people they've had good relationships with, or their friends, or people they agree with. But with the Full Send podcast, hater to love it, right or wrong, if we ever get the opportunity to have a controversial guest on, we're never going to turn it down. Because in my opinion, what we want to do with the Full Send podcast on is we're not afraid to have controversial people on. We're going to ask them questions. Sure, we're probably not the best at asking questions. We're not the best journalists. Never claimed to be. So we might not be the best at pressing them. But in my opinion, it's up to the viewer to form their own educated opinion. Like, we have someone controversial on, we ask them questions. I think people give us a little too much credit when they say, oh, you're...
That is extreme. That is the biggest cop-out in the world, and I hope Hassan calls it out. When you have an immense platform and you bring a war criminal on, I mean, this guy is a war criminal. He has a warrant by the ICC. They want to try him at The Hague like they did the Nazis after World War II and many other genociders and war criminals. And so, like, you can't... Like, I guess you can, but you would be willfully retarded to do so, to not call out a monster who you've brought onto your platform. That's an opportunity, mind you, to really, like, call him out. He can't, like, force you to get rid of that footage. Like, you can get him comfortable and then start nailing him on certain things, like asking him and really nailing him down on, why do you claim that Hamas burned babies on October 7th when no source besides your government has verified this claim? There's no evidence of it. There's no video or photos of it. Like, yeah, Hamas killed a bunch of people, but burning babies has not been proven by any party, period. It's been denied by several independent parties, in fact. So, like, why, like, pin him on his lies in particular. Netanyahu has said so many lies to justify this genocide that are absolutely indefensible. Those are the things you want to hold him on. They could have done that. They had him right there, and they could have gotten footage of him being either forced to confront those lies in some way, double down on them, or just walk off, which looks bad in its own way.
You're platforming him, or like, I think, sure, we have a young audience, but they're not stupid. And we don't think they're stupid whatsoever. And I think this podcast is a perfect example of that. If you go and read the comments, just because we have someone on, we're sitting beside someone, people aren't gonna be like, oh my God, Nelk's with them. Like, I love this person. Like, yeah, wait, that's just not the way it works.
I don't think anybody loves Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't even think American presidents like Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
But and I don't think you can listen. I don't think you can platform the prime minister of Israel. That's not my argument. I don't really give a shit about that. But my question is, do you feel like there is a culpability that you have? Because, like, look, Donald Trump is a contentious figure, and obviously he's responsible for a metric ton of pain and violence as well, but so is every other American president. That's one thing. But Benjamin Netanyahu is, like, unique in the sense that he's also a foreign leader. So I guess the question is, like, because he's getting something out of this, right? He's getting something out of this where he gets to, I guess, like, try and humanize himself.
That's the thing, Hassan, is we'll have anyone on. Like, next episode, we're going to have
There are a lot of people who are willfully naive. Also, this guy looks like he's zooted as fuck. What is going on with this dude on the left? I don't think he said a single word yet. Now, this is a willfully naive and childish way to view having an audience. And I guarantee you this guy has very inconsistent standards as to where he draws the line on what he has the responsibility to do, right? Like, does this guy think it's responsible to, like, drink constantly on his show? Like does he have any problems with, like, encouraging his audience to drink or smoke cigarettes? Like, is that a line that he draws? Plenty of people are inconsistent. I'm just curious, like, where does he draw the line? And could you get him to understand, like, okay, so you recognize that this is something you wouldn't want to encourage people to do with your massive, massive platform. Why is this different? Why is it okay to bring anyone on, even when they can only, by coming onto your show, help to normalize and spread something that kills people? Why do you take pride in bringing anyone on, including someone like that? It's childish to do so. You believe that principles matter than real objective impacts on the world, reality. You know, it's a childish way to see things.
Have someone on with the complete opposite ideology
that
we've already been planning before this podcast came out.
Who are you guys having on?
I mean, I'd love to hear your suggestions. We have from different friends. You could DM us after if you don't want to say them live, but we're talking to a few different people and we want to choose the right person to kind of represent, you know, the opposite side.
Okay, but Benjamin Netanyahu isn't just like a podcaster, you know what I mean? Like, he's literally the prime minister that is a war criminal by the International Criminal Court. He's like literally branded as a war criminal. And it's unique because like the International Criminal Court is a European institution and they've never actually criticized an American or anyone who's an American ally in the past. So it's like he's killed so many children that even the International Criminal Court was like, damn, this guy sucks. It's literally...
It's true. Also, correct me if I'm wrong. Hassan Mamdani said that if Netanyahu ever comes to New York, he'll have the police arrest him on the grounds of the ICC warrant, have him shipped to The Hague, which goes hard as fuck, and is particularly why Netanyahu spent a significant amount of time on the Nelk Boys podcast shit-talking Mamdani. Just saying.
Like interviewing Adolf Hitler.
I think if you watch it though too, I think yes. I mean, I think me and Steiny could have pressed him a little bit harder, but we did ask him, what is your response?
Sorry, I'm reading Hassan's little thingy, and it's invading my mind. I can't stop thinking about how much I dislike Hassan. My bad.
Say you're starting children in Gaza. Do you think October 7th could have been prevented? Are you trying to implement regime change in Iran? Like, Americans don't want another war with regime change. So we definitely did ask him some questions that I think people wanted to know.
Okay, what did he say? I mean, of course.
Yeah, I can't stop looking at Hassan's little thingy. Tee-hee-hee. No, I'm talking about this thing. His little light up neon sign. I'm thinking about how bad I kind of want one now.
For starving children in Gaza, he said that they bring the food in and Hamas steals it and then sells it.
That's a lie. You know what I mean? Like, that's so. Right. So here's the thing.
What's your opinion? Hassan, you got to remember, one side's going to say one thing, and the other side's going to say it's a lie.
I don't think you guys having a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu is the interesting point of contention here for me, at least. Like, I mean,
man, okay, Hassan needs to like train in like the mountains with monks or something on how to debate. He's not awful. You know, he's not terrible at debating, but dude, he does a lot of the unnecessary cordiality where I feel like that's kind of a dead era of debating. I feel like nowadays, if you really want to like get through to people, both in a one-on-one conversation like this and to the audience watching, you want to try to sound as normal as possible. Like, don't say, well, that's not my point of contention. Say, well, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, obviously the problem here is that this guy is a war criminal. He's killed thousands, okay? The idea that it's good just to allow anyone onto your show, even when all they could do being on your show is normalize and spread propaganda to make it more acceptable to others, their killing of people, why do you take pride in that? Like, there's clearly immaturity in that. You know, just, like, call out exactly what you see. 'Cause that's what it is.
I mean, I think it's in and of itself, it's like worthy of scrutiny because it's like, you know, you guys, it's like interviewing Adolf Hitler. Like, would you interview Adolf Hitler during the Holocaust if you had the opportunity? Probably not, right? And we had less information on the Holocaust while it was happening than we do on this modern iteration of a genocide because we get to see it in real time because we have the internet.
Okay, so wait, what's your response to what he answered us? You didn't even talk about that.
It's a lie. No human rights organization that works on the ground, from the UN to the World Food Program, has ever agreed to the Israeli position that this is all Hamas stealing aid or whatever. As a matter of fact, they've openly said that that is not the case.
Hassan is totally right here. As far as my awareness too, there's not been a single non-Israel government source that claims that the aid coming into Gaza has been halted by Hamas, and that's why the aid's not getting through, which is Israel's consistent claim, despite consistent verification of Israelis shooting at Gazans trying to access aid when it arrives in Gaza or around like Palestine. And so Netanyahu just outright lied about that. Hassan is completely right here.
Case at all. It's just a way for Israel to continue justifying its starvation policies against the entire civilian population of Gaza, so that they can claim that, like, oh, Hamas is just like stealing this aid. They've never actually given a single piece of evidence for this. It's just a claim that people have to supposedly take at face value because Israel said it. It's a lie.
That's a W for Hassan right there. That's a point in Hassan's column right there.
What's the other side's proof? Just so we can play both sides here.
Well, the other side is not even like the side of the Palestinians. I'm not even offering the side of the Palestinians. The Palestinians obviously think that that's bullshit as well. But the other side is an unbiased third party. The World Food Program is not, on board with Hamas. The World Food Program or the UN is not Hamas or anti-Semitic or anti-Israel, beyond, the obvious reasons why you would be anti-Israel, because they're doing these things and then lying about it.
So what's your overall opinion of us? Like Kyle just stated, that we're having a world leader on. That's what we're more focused on.
I think it was dumb. I'll be honest, because it's not.
But you would do the same thing, Hassan, if you had the opportunity. 100%.
No, I mean, there's a difference though. I'm well equipped to have a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, because when he says something like that, I can turn around and be like, well, the World Food Program has said that there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas is stealing aid. Whereas you don't have that follow up in that situation, and Benjamin Netanyahu knows that, and his team knows that, which is precisely why he went on the Nelk Boys podcast and he didn't go on my stream or something. And I don't even know if I would honestly have a conversation with him if given the opportunity.
In my opinion, I think that, like, for example, I think Trump is really good on podcast. Like, obviously, that's why he did his whole podcast. I mean, he's clearly a good speaker. Like, you can't deny that. But I think, in my opinion, just because we platform someone, it doesn't necessarily equate to like a positive outcome for the guest. And I think this is like a perfect example of that. Like, this could even be a negative thing.
No, I think in the grand scheme of things, like, it's not moving the needle, because Benjamin Netanyahu gets positive coverage from every outlet. He gets positive coverage from every outlet. So you guys are marginal in that regard. It's not like all that significant. But if you're looking for
what I'm trying to say though.
What do you mean?
Like, if Fox News has him on and they're more supportive of him than we have.
I don't think it's a matter of like, oh, are there bigger platforms that have brought Netanyahu on? I think it's more a matter of like reach in total. How many platforms has Netanyahu been on where he's had that much reach to that kind of audience? A bunch of dude bros that watch the Nelk Boys podcast. Like how many people, like, how much crossover in these two audiences of like Fox News, Tucker Carlson, like the average hosts of Netanyahu, those audiences and these guys' audiences. It's about the fact that Netanyahu, with no pushback whatsoever on his talking points, has been introduced to a bunch of people who probably never heard him speak before. And on top of that, they're only hearing Netanyahu's side, which is notoriously filled with lies. He's a criminal, literally wanted criminal.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying it's marginal. Like, you having him on is marginal, as opposed to like him going on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, all of those other outlets, and then not just Benjamin Netanyahu, but like Israeli envoys going on CNN every night and saying, well, we blew up this mosque, or we blew up this church because Hamas was in it, or whatever. That is ultimately playing a role in crafting this elaborate narrative that Israel is always in the right, Israel has a right to defend itself, and that they have to do these things, they have to contextualize this violence. Like, all of that plays a much larger role. You guys just basically are presenting a similar perspective that you get from CNN or Fox News, but now to a younger audience that's going to look at, I guess, maybe Benjamin Netanyahu and be like, he's a chill guy that you can hang with, but I don't even know if he's capable of doing that.
Wait, Hassan, here's kind of where I disagree with you. Is if you watch CNN or you watch Fox News, you kind of know what narrative you're looking for.
Well,
and with us,
No. Okay, we're getting a little fuzzy with it. It's not the idea that Netanyahu is a chill guy that people might get from the podcast. Obviously, that could be a bit of a worry, but that's the least of my concerns. It's that they're only hearing Netanyahu's side. These guys don't even have, like, an inkling of current events knowledge to pull from to try and push back against the claims that he makes. So all they're doing is just asking him a question, like, well, what's your side of the whole killing Palestinians thing? And he's like, well, here's why it's completely justified, and everyone who thinks it's a problem is wrong. And they're like, huh, interesting. Well, moving on. That's the problem, is he's expressing those takes with no pushback.
in that neutral ground, you don't know what you're going to get, right? So that's the differentiator. And like we told, I don't know if Kyle mentioned this earlier, but we're having a pro-Palestinian on as our very soon here. So
I don't know who you guys are having on, but I mean, it depends on.
What I'm trying to say is like, how are we, if we're a neutral podcast, how are we anything like either side? If you know you're
neutral
podcast.
No one is fully neutral in that regard, right? Because like that's why I asked, like, if Osama bin Laden wasn't dead, would you interview him?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Would you?
If Osama bin Laden wasn't dead, yeah, of course. And the same for, but it would be contentious in the same vein as the Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hassan would not interview Hitler, but he would interview Osama bin Laden, and I think that speaks volumes as to why I have some disagreements with Hassan.
Interview. Like there are people that I interview that the American audiences would consider.
If you got bin Laden, you'd never be able to grill him because you would have had to go to Afghanistan. You would have mission to a cave, and they would have.
No. To be clear, Hassan is pro-terrorism, but he is also anti-Israel genociding, like, Palestinian children, which is why he is on the good side of this debate for all intents and purposes. He's also going up against some real baby brain morons.
I mean, we're setting up a hypothetical scenario where bin Laden is able to like connect via Discord. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I'm not going to interview bin Laden with a gun trained on my head. That would not be a situation. Like, that would not be the case. He's dead anyway. In the hypothetical,
well, I mean,
would you be able to?
We interviewed him in the White House with 20 people standing around us in suits that we didn't know who they were. So it's almost, I think, in that the same situation. Yeah, I mean, respectfully.
Okay, so my point is, would you be neutral with bin Laden in the same way that you're like a neutral podcast?
I think we would. Yeah, we would do our best to ask him tough questions.
Okay, all right. What about ISIS?
Understanding too, right?
What about Adolf Hitler?
I think we'd always kind of play the neutral role.
You would play a neutral role interviewing Adolf Hitler. I don't think that's the case. I think you're just saying that right now because you want to.
We're just not the best at throwing guests and pushing back on them. To be honest, like I said.
The neutral podcast idea is just so cucked. I have no other word to describe it than cucked. I'm so glad that we created that word. It's just what it is. Like, you're sitting in the cuck chair while some other guy expresses all of their convictions and views to your audience. You're getting cucked. This is some cuck shit. I don't know how, like, that's just what it is.
I said we're not claiming to be good journalists. Like we can ask a question, but when it comes to like a follow-up question, I'll be honest, we're not the most like I've never claimed to be super educated on this.
Hassan, you haven't even watched the podcast.
I haven't. I haven't had time. I don't know what kind of questions you guys ask, but I assume.
Wait, listen. The first few minutes is us sitting there like, yo, we are not qualified to do this. It's insane. We acknowledge the fact that
Hey guys, we know it's wrong to kill puppies, but watch us stomp this puppy to death.
You're right. We're not the best journalists. We're not the most fit to do this. But the fact that we have an opportunity to interview a world leader, two guys like us, we're going to jump on that just as I know you would. So
yeah, but the difference is like if there was a situation where I felt like I was.
Disclaimer: we know it's wrong. You're right, but let's do it anyway.
Ill-equipped for the task, I would just not do it. You know what I mean?
I didn't say we're ill-equipped, but I said there's people probably more fit.
I mean, this is a unique opportunity. You have an
dog ass cam. That's a good cam. Dog butt. Anyway, the hilarious thing about this as well is the idea that to think they would actually hold to this. If Hitler came back from the dead and said, "Aye, the Nelk Boys, they are my favorite podcast. I want to go on." I can't do a Hitler. I can't do even a German impression. And zombie Hitler offers to go on their podcast, I find it hard to believe they'd agree. But if they would, and they'd bring him on just to be like, okay, so the Jews, if they would let him on with no pushback, because like they said, they're just bad at grilling guests. These guys need to be taken off of whatever platforms they're podcasting on. Good Lord. Like, there's no better show of what I mean when I say platforms are being dangerously used to the benefit of the right now than these guys. They have no idea what they're doing. How much you want to bet at some point in the future they grow out of this a bit and they start talking about how cringe these takes were in the past? I don't know if it's guaranteed, but I've seen it happen many times before with figures like this who've held this take. And it's always so like, man, it would have been nice if you believed that 5 years ago, you know?
Unprecedented opportunity.
The Full Time Podcast is, I'll be honest. No, let's be honest. The Full Time Podcast is never going to be the best line of questioning. Like, I'll be honest. That's the honest truth. Let's be real here. That's exactly, and that's why they choose us, and that's why the show is what it is, because we're kind of dumb and we're not the best. We're not.
Let me ask you guys this: Is there a person?
The podcast is what it is.
Is there a person that you guys wouldn't interview? Because like we're also like now stuck on whether you guys should be interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu or not. I think if someone is
in today's age, like right now, I think that's a fair question to ask. Right now,
Wait,
like
what's-
I think about right
You
now.
gotta speak to people that are alive because
You can't speak to
time.
people.
Yeah,
We're saying right now because that's pretty much where we're at. So
Like-
if we could interview anyone right now, like who would we say no to? Is that what you're asking?
yeah.
I can't think of someone.
Okay, so like even out of like because the reason why I have to go back to historical figures that have conducted genocides is because like Benjamin Netanyahu is doing one right now, and he's not even.
What's crazy is these dudes were bringing on Netanyahu and didn't even do research. Like, instead of doing research and, like, prepping for their show, that I'm sure they make millions off of, they were like, haha, we're idiots, but we're real jokesters, and you guys watch us and give us your money, so, you know, we know this is irresponsible, but here's Netanyahu, folks. Take it away, Bibi.
The singular force of evil
You're
here.
talking about hypotheticals, bro. That's where you lose me because you're talking
Well,
about.
I mean, the reason why is trying. Well, I'm using this as an analogy.
Like Tucker Carlson had Putin on. Other journalists have.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson had Vladimir Putin on.
Yeah, and Tucker Carlson is a bitch for that. What do you mean? Like, are you call Charles Manson killed people? Yeah. Yeah. It was bad.
And when Tucker Carlson had Vladimir Putin on, he did that in a capacity to do propaganda for Vladimir Putin, for sure.
Exactly,
he didn't push back
yeah.
at all. He was there. He was in Russia, and he did it specifically so he could do.
You really can't in that situation.
I know, but that's precisely why, like, sometimes it's better not to take that opportunity. You know what I mean? That's my position.
Like for the
And even then, Tucker Carlson, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Tucker Carlson is still more equipped to at least have like follow-up questions. Like, think about the Ted Cruz interview that he had. Like, he obviously
that is true.
Yeah, of course, Tucker's the
No,
man,
he
right?
wouldn't.
But when I watched that Putin interview, like I thought Putin was like dodging questions and he like didn't answer anything. So that's what goes back to my point of like platforming someone. And I think just because we have someone on, it doesn't always mean a positive for the guest. And I mean, if you go read this comment section, like I don't think this is necessarily a positive thing for Netanyahu.
Yeah, but it's not a positive thing for you guys either, because most of your audience is probably already.
I would say that for the people that are super disaffected and don't know better, it's been a positive thing for Netanyahu, and that was his goal. The people who aren't invested enough in politics to have heard much else besides, like, talk, and specifically what they've now heard from Netanyahu about the issue. That was his goal. The people who are mad are the people who already knew better and got angry they platformed him. The people who don't know better, who are the concern as to getting propagandized to, they're not the ones who are mad. They didn't know to be mad.
Anti-Israel and
Manson didn't technically get anyone. He ordered hits, but you know what I mean.
Anti-Netanyahu, so now they're yelling at you guys.
That's
so
fine,
now
because I can sleep at night knowing like our intention with this, and you know we're not pro-Israel. I'm not pro-Israel. I don't know enough about this conflict to be honest. I only see what I read online, and I hear his point of view, then I hear your point of view. I really have no idea what's going on. I'd love to learn more, but
yeah, but I think you got to do that before you do an interview. Look, my point is this:
Okay, wait,
what you guys did is, from my estimation, okay, what you guys did is no different than like what CNN does. Okay, you just basically presented someone who is a war criminal, someone who is doing a genocide in a somewhat neutral light.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
Yeah, the double.
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time.
Yeah, this is a good example of how bad this podcast was. Like, look at this clip. Look at this clip.
Genocide in a somewhat neutral light.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
Yeah, the
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long
It's
time.
not
Burger King kind of sucks. Yeah.
No,
the
you're wrong.
BK Lounge can hit it.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's? That's your worst take.
The most they push back against Netanyahu is on this issue. I'm not joking. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. This is the most pushback Netanyahu gets in the entire podcast episode.
Absolutely.
That's a crazy take.
No, that was fine. I mean, I like Burger King. The answer is yes.
And you can't be neutral when you have someone like Benjamin Netanyahu directly in an opportunity to talk to him. But that's what happened. So there's moral culpability here for you guys individually.
Well, I think this is the way we roll. The way we roll with this is it's going to give us the opportunity to get the biggest people in the world. And I think you'll know by the Full Send podcast when you watch it. It's like, hey, we're going to watch these guys are going to get big guests. We might not necessarily get these guys grilling these people, and that's just what you're going to come to expect.
I know, but if you don't grill them, then all you're doing is like, just like I said.
We're having them on, and people
what you're doing in that situation is basically just propaganda, no?
I still think people are hold on, fine. So
Wait, Tyler, you're missing the biggest point here. Son, we're looking to have someone from the opposite side and give them the exact same opportunity.
Okay, well, you would have to have. I mean, there is no opposite side because like there's one side that's being genocided and the other side that's doing the genocide. So in this situation,
opposite
like it would be like interviewing the leadership of Hamas. You know what I mean? And that's illegal under. I mean, I don't think you would be able to conduct that
we would
on your own.
100% do that if we were safe.
Yeah.
If the Iranian Supreme Leader called me right now and we knew we were safe, we would obviously
yes.
Okay, Iranian
Well,
Supreme Leader is not.
which I think it's funny. I think it's funny that you
I feel they think they're the dudes from that the Interview movie, like Seth Rogen and James Franco. I feel like they they think they're those guys. This is cringe, all right? This is simply cringe. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing admirable or prideful about this, or anything to be proud of.
You haven't watched yet because you're going kind of ham on us. And you haven't
Well, I
watched it.
haven't
So
had I haven't had the opportunity to watch it. I was going to
No, I
get to
understand.
it,
You're busy.
but
But what I was going to say is that we did talk about Hamas. We did talk about a lot of these things.
I know, but just simply talking about it without having the proper knowledge and the proper equipment to be able to push back when he's lying only turns it into an opportunity for him to, like, why do you think Benjamin Netanyahu did this? He did this because
No, we agree with you.
No, we agree with you. We're not. We know that.
Bro,
That's the
he
reason
used you
anyone does a
guys is what
podcast.
I'm saying. He
I don't
used
know
you
if that's
guys and your lack
I
of
don't know if
knowledge on this
necessarily-
issue.
I don't know if that was necessarily successful though.
Yeah, that with Kyle, I agree.
I mean,
I
it
think
would be-
everyone's seeing what Trump did, and Hassan, after the whole election, the whole story was how podcasts won the election, blah blah blah. That was every story. Like I even did a bunch of interviews on it too, and I think obviously the Israeli team sees that and they're like, oh, we need to do podcasts. But in my opinion, not everyone is a Trump and that good of a speaker that can go on and kind of adapt to any environment. And I think that Netanyahu
riding
came on,
Trump
and
still.
I think you see the response, and I think that podcasting doesn't work for anyone. We saw what happened with Kamala too. Like she was a disaster on pods. So
Okay.
I think just because we platform someone, it doesn't necessarily like mean that we're trying to help them. Or I think viewers are a lot smarter than they think they are.
Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu is a multiple decade.
People who have a massive audience and get called out on how they use that like platform always go to this whole like, I think my fans are smart. I think people are smart and they can figure things out. And they try to use like flattery as an argument. And it's a very bunk argument. No, people are largely influenceable, easy to influence, and gullible. And that's why you have to be careful about what ideas you platform if you have a large reach.
Politician and has been the leader of Israel in perpetuity. He is a lot better at propaganda than you think he is. Okay, first of all, let's just
True.
get that out of the way. The idea that you think that he is not capable of like weaving through a couple softballs that you thought were hard-hitting questions that he has probably addressed a million times over is silly. Let me make no mistake.
Oh no, yeah, I agree with you on that.
So my question to you is, why do you think he wanted to come on the Nelk Boys podcast? He saw the
Of
podcast.
course he wanted
We're not stupid, bro.
Of course he wanted to come on to try to win over the young audience. We're not disagreeing on that.
Okay.
I'm saying I don't necessarily know if that's successful. And I think just because you come on the Full Send podcast and sit beside Nelk Boys and take some softball questions, if you say that, it doesn't necessarily equate to a positive outcome for the guest. I don't think platforming people.
The question is this, right? The question is,
This is like, I don't even know what kind of worldview you have to. I think he's just bullshitting now. I think he just sees that what he did is kind of morally bankrupt. He kind of sold out on this one, and he's trying to just bullshit his way out of looking bad from it.
the question is the same. Like Adolf Hitler comes on the podcast.
I mean, you can just go read the comments. Like
Adolf Hitler comes on the podcast. You guys are
doesn't
having a
look like a
conversation with
positive
him, and he starts, and you're like, "Why are you sending Jews to the
we can't
concentration
speak to
camps?"
Hitler. I think we should speak. I think we should speak by
By the way, so in character, can I just say, so in character that Netanyahu's favorite burger place, like fast food chain, would be Burger King, might be the shittiest fast food there is. Like, my last choice would be Burger King, bro. I would go to, like, Steak and Shake before I'd go to Burger King, and Steak and Shake fries are, like, it's like you're eating, they're like an atom thick, you know? I like Burger King. The Burger King lovers in chat are gonna want to behead me and like put my head on a spike outside their local Burger King. Don't get me wrong, but like there are very few of these people who've deluded themselves into thinking Burger King is based.
No. The reason why we're using this analog is because I think that
I don't
there's
think that's a fair comparison.
the reason why. Well, I don't think it's an unfair comparison at all. I think it's a perfectly
I
apt
think it is.
comparison.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
But we can talk about because that's an analogy. So I'm
Speak to
using
anyone
that.
alive.
I'm
Speak to
using that
anyone
as an
alive.
analogy because Adolf Hitler is a figure that you and I both agree is a truly evil, monstrous
So I think why don't
figure.
you just name one person alive for the analogy?
But I'm using this as an analogy because you already have established
No,
that Adolf
I don't
Hitler
think
is
it's a
like
fair
doing
analogy,
something akin to what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. That's why I'm
think
using
it's
this as an
analogy.
analogy. There's no modern contemporary that I can use at this moment that you would have the same, that would have a similar impact for you. That's why I'm using it as an analog.
But you're talking about completely hypotheticals.
Yeah, of course, that's what an analogy is. I'm comparing.
I understand
As
that, but
long
you're
as the
saying it's like-
crimes are comparable, which is genocide on both ends, as long as the crimes are comparable, then and you understand that the crimes are comparable. If you think that
too
there's something wrong with the
hypothetical.
analogy, you can
I can't
tackle
speak to it. I
why
can't
I'm
speak to
using it as an analogy, not just saying, oh, you can't use an
I
analogy.
wasn't alive. I can't speak to it. I wasn't alive. But if you can make
But,
the analogy. of anyone
you
alive.
know the Holocaust happened, right? Like obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so.
Okay, so since you
I would say so. Okay. I think we've seen enough. I think we've seen enough to make my point. These guys are woefully unequipped mentally to bear the responsibility of a large platform, but, you know, reality does not bend to what would be best. Oftentimes it bends the opposite way. And so these Nelk Boys guys, while they are getting a ton of shit now, they're probably going to benefit from this controversy in the long run, and who knows what war criminal they'll host on their podcast next. Maybe another reappearance of Netanyahu, for all we know. Anyway, folks, if y'all enjoyed this segment, if you found it enjoyable, educational, or in any way entertaining, then please consider leaving a like and a comment down below, whether you're watching live or after the fact when this segment goes up as its own video. Every like and comment helps the channel immensely, so I really appreciate it, regardless of when or who you are. It means a lot. And of course, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications if you haven't already, so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And if you want to see more from me on other platforms, be sure to follow my social medias, which are linked down below in the description. Particularly, I recommend you join my fan Discord, as that's the main hub of my fan base and community, and I host weekly gaming events, call-in streams, or watch parties there, depending on the day of the week. If it's Friday, sometimes I don't do it on every week, but most weeks I do. And of course, finally, if you want to support me directly financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xander Hall merch to the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.